Scuderia Ferrari takes pole position for the 2024 Formula One Monaco Grand Prix with Charles Leclerc. A top performance from the all-red F1 team, expertly managed by the Monegasque driver. Second on the streets of Monte Carlo is the McLaren MCL38 of Oscar Piastri, who potentially could have taken pole position, while third is the other SF-24 car of Carlos Sainz, who was also capable of fighting for pole position despite a rather difficult start to the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. Fourth is Lando Norris, who was somewhat lackluster. Through GPS data, we can analyze in detail the magic performed by Charles Leclerc, examining the three fastest cars. Just as on Friday, the historic Mercedes team showed good hybrid energy delivery on the first straight, allowing George Russell the highest speed before turn 1. The English driver also favored the exit phase, thus being able to get on the gas earlier and with a lower steering angle, resulting in better traction towards the casino area. Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, was more focused on delaying the braking phase with his Ferrari, and despite not having a very high speed in turn 1 at the Sainte Devote Corner, still managed to gain overall in the turn balance. The updated SF-24 single-seater tries to use the entry phase to build a good advantage by exploiting the solidity of the front end. George Russell is the fastest in the first sector, also thanks to a different approach to turns 3 and 4. Like with turn 1, the Englishman anticipates both braking points and reaches 100% throttle before his rivals, carrying more speed onto the straight. In the second sector of the Monte Carlo track, it's worth pointing out that the Ferrari SF-24 sacrificed minimum speed but favored traction. In the slow corners that open the central sector, a completely different driving style is noted between Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri compared to George Russell. Although the average throttle percentage is quite similar among the three drivers, Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc delay the braking phase, consequently postponing the throttle input. However, from the data collected from the telemetry data, it is evident that car number 16 shows the best style, gaining ground over the rivals. The poleman was driving a more composed car in terms of traction, compensating for lower mid-corner speeds. Exiting turn 8, George Russell was once again the most skillful on the accelerator pedal. But like the stretch leading to the casino, Charles Leclerc used the hybrid boost to reach a higher speed than the other two drivers. At the harbor chicane, Oscar Piastri delayed his braking excessively, resulting in a worse exit, while Charles Leclerc took a different approach to turns 10 and 11 compared to the other two drivers, initially reducing the throttle percentage, thus delaying the braking, but without losing in terms of minimum speed. Now let's shift our attention to the telemetry data regarding the third sector. Data from the last sector shows that the poleman conserved his tires very well, maintaining grip until the end of the lap compared to his rivals. In the third sector, George Russell and Charles Leclerc took a more conservative approach at the entrance compared to Oscar Piastri, who maximized performance under braking, sacrificing traction. Scuderia Ferrari made a significant difference at the Monegasque. Compared to turn 16, where George Russell and Oscar Piastri had a similar style, the home driver delayed the braking and was more skillful in using the throttle. We know how the rear tires after a lap in Monaco are highly stressed by the continuous traction phases. In the last two corners, however, it seems that Charles Leclerc was able to demand more from his red-banded Pirellis, which he managed slightly better throughout the lap. In turns 18 and 19, Charles Leclerc went on the accelerator similarly to George Russell, while still carrying a higher mid-corner speed. The first session of the Monaco Grand Prix concluded with Charles Leclerc ahead of his rivals. Now the historic Maranello team must not waste the great opportunity at hand and must capitalize. The Monegasque driver meticulously managed the compounds throughout his final push lap, making the most of the Ferrari power unit that was replaced at the last moment. In short, no mistakes are allowed, using a perfect race strategy to allow the home driver to achieve the greatly desired goal of taking pole position for the Monaco Grand Prix. Qualifying in Monaco is widely considered the most stressful moment of the entire season. Charles Leclerc approached it after clocking the fastest times in both Friday's practice and the FP3 session. While this was a positive indicator of his potential, it also added to the pressure he had to handle. Despite acknowledging the presence of stress, the Ferrari driver felt they managed it well, as he secured his third pole position on his home track. Achieving significant results under high expectations is challenging, yet it is a necessary part of the job for every professional driver, and almost routine for a top Formula One driver. Before qualifying, The only question mark was Red Bull's potential. On several occasions, the last time being 7 days ago at the Imola circuit, Max Verstappen had been able to turn around a seemingly unfavorable situation, so caution was justified. Unlike on other occasions, Charles Leclerc stepped up at the right moment. He was 5th in Q1, 4th in Q2, and immediately took the lead in Q3 with the first of the 2 sets of soft tires available. In the first run, Charles Leclerc took the lead, but with only a 0.026 second margin over Oscar Piastri and 0.149 seconds over Max Verstappen. With his final effort, Charles Leclerc made a significant impact, combining his 3 best sectors and lowering his time by 0.2. This secured his position at the top, while Oscar Piastri, pleased with his front-row start, acknowledged that he couldn't have done better, noting that Charles Leclerc had the upper hand that day. The Monegasque's celebration was brief, quickly shifting back to his pre-qualifying demeanor of a slight smile and focused expression. Although he appreciated the confirmation of his pole position, he felt the satisfaction was fleeting compared to previous occasions in Monaco. He remained acutely aware that despite starting from pole twice before without winning, the race was what ultimately mattered, and his thoughts were already on it. Despite the perfect finish, Charles's day had its challenges. After the final free practice session in Monte Carlo, a power unit issue was detected, necessitating a last-minute replacement. Ferrari quickly installed one of the already used engines, likely switching from Unit 1 to 3, though the Maranello team chose not to disclose specific details. This operation was completed swiftly and without complications. While Charles Leclerc's pole position was notable, Carlos Sainz's 3rd place on Ferrari's Saturday was even more surprising. Despite the Spaniard's successful history in Monaco, he faced difficulties with the SF-24 car from the outset of the Monte Carlo weekend, struggling to find the right setup since the first practice sessions. Although he typically feels confident on this track, this year proved to be more challenging than anticipated, with a breakthrough occurring just before the qualifying session. Carlos Sainz expressed that he felt he was missing the extra 0.2 of a second that come with building confidence lap after lap. Friday's events significantly impacted Carlos Sainz's weekend. Dealing with unexpected rear-end instability prevented him from pushing close to the walls as aggressively as he would have liked, leaving a safety margin that is less than ideal for Monaco. Despite these challenges, he considered the Maranello team's overall results satisfactory, although he lamented that his toughest weekend with the car happened in Monaco, where qualifying is crucial. Starting from the 3rd position means aiming for the podium, even if not the top spot, which is still a commendable outcome given the atmosphere in Carlos Sainz's side of the garage the previous evening. Now the focus shifts to Sunday's race, with Ferrari ready to play a team game and secure a double podium finish in Monaco.